paper which bears his name upon it as well as mine.
Und ich bin nun mit meiner Regierung 2 volle Tage gesessen und habe gewartet. Seit
I have to tell you now that no such undertaking has been received, and that consequently this country is at war with Germany.
What General Weygand has called the Battle of France is over. The Battle of Britain is about to begin.
The great air battle, which has been in progress over this island for the last few weeks, has recently attained a high intensity. It is too soon to attempt to assign limits either to its scale or to its duration. We must certainly expect that greater efforts will be made by the enemy than any he has put forth. Hostile airfields are still being developed in France and the Low Countries, and the movement of squadrons and material for attacking us is still proceeding. It is quite plain, sir, that Herr Hitler could not admit defeat in his air attack on Great Britain without sustaining most serious injury. If, after all his boastings and blood-curdling threats and lurid accounts trumpeted round the world of the damage he has inflicted, of the vast numbers of our air force he has shot down, so he says, with so little loss to himself, if after tales of the panic-stricken British crushed in their holes, cursing the plutocratic parliament which has led them to such a plight, if after all this, his whole air onslaught were forced, after a while, tamely to peter out, the Führer's reputation for veracity of statement might be seriously impugned. We may be sure, therefore, that he will continue.
Churchill's speech of August the 20th, 1940, is an accurate assessment of the grim prospect facing the British people. Hitler will not abandon his air assault on Britain. He will escalate his attacks to even greater levels of ferocity, and the Battle of Britain takes a new and heartbreaking turn. The might of the German Air Force is to be turned on the people of London.
German aircraft carried out a number of attacks on Great Britain last night. The raids, which lasted for several hours, were scattered over many parts of the country, and enemy aircraft have been reported over towns on the south coast, the west of England, the North Midlands and the northwest, as well as over the London area. There are reports from Germany that our bombers attacked industrial targets there. Bill to authorize
Top to the death road on 22 stations ground.
The Special Pilot 28 station, reporting, sir. Message from the fire on Burdett Road. It is a building of 5 floors, about 150 by 100 feet. Used as a general warehouse, well alight.
See this? Order 36 ladders to commercial.
Germany calling, Germany calling, Germany calling. Here are the Reichsbänder Hamburg, Station Bremen, and Station DXB on the 31-meter band. You are about to hear our news in English.
The British Ministry of Misinformation has been conducting a systematic campaign of frightening British women and girls about the danger of being injured by splinters from German bombs.
The women have reacted to these suggestions and alarms by requesting their milliners to shape the spring and summer hats out of very thin tin plates.
great raid on London of September the 7th, 1940, is the beginning of a long nightmare. In that first raid alone, 430 people were killed and over 1,600 badly injured. Vast areas of London's East End are reduced to rubble. Thousands are homeless. The Battle of Britain is about to reach its climax. Hitler's plan on the conquest of Britain depends on the total destruction of the Royal Air Force. His invasion fleet is ready and waiting in the Channel ports of France, but without mastery of the skies over southern England, the fleet can do nothing. For 2 months, the RAF have been goaded almost daily into costly battles with the Luftwaffe. The first phase, from the beginning of July to the 11th of August, is a series of attacks on Channel ports and convoys. In those first 6 weeks of the Battle of Britain, the badly outnumbered British fighters suffer heavy losses. It takes under 5 minutes for German raiders to cross the Channel. It takes 15 minutes for the defenders to climb high enough to meet them. During this phase alone, 124 RAF fighters are lost. The second phase of the German offensive opens on August the 12th. It is an attempt to create gaps in the British defenses by destroying key radar stations and airfields. The attempt only partly succeeds. Now, Fighter Command is almost at the limit of its endurance. On Eagle Day, August the 13th, 1,400 German aircraft are launched in an all-out offensive. It is the largest air attack yet seen in the Battle of Britain. 12 RAF airfields and control centers are bombed and strafed. Over the next 3 days of raids, unprecedented in air warfare, the number of attacking German aircraft is increased to 1,800. 2 aircraft factories are hit, yet more airfields are badly damaged, and in one raid alone, 46 British fighters are destroyed in their hangars at Brize Norton. The period from the 24th of August to the 15th of September is the third and final phase of the Battle of Britain. It is the most dangerous time yet for Fighter Command and for the British people. The RAF is increasingly tempted to throw everything it has against the massive German formations. It is a temptation that must be resisted. In a battle of attrition against the world's largest air force, the RAF would certainly lose, and only the continued resistance of Fighter Command stands between Britain and invasion. In the early September of 1940, the commanders of Britain's armed forces have few illusions. If the conquerors of Europe land on the beaches of England, it will take more than a spirit of defiance to save Britain. Most of the British Army's equipment has been lost in the fall of France. The defenders now have less than 100 tanks. Strips of coastline 10 miles deep have been cleared, declared defense areas which cannot be entered without a permit. Motorists straying into restricted areas risk being shot by a nervous home guard. On September the 7th, the day of the first great raid on London, the code word Cromwell is issued by Home Forces head offices. The signal means invasion is imminent. From the Outer Hebrides to the Isle of Wight, members of the Home Guard stand at their invasion posts. In many villages, church bells are rung in the belief that the attack has already begun. In fact, the day that Hitler has set is September the 15th, 1 week away. The massive German air fleets now sweeping over London have clear objectives. By day, to draw out and destroy what remains of Britain's fighter defenses. By night, to spread terror and confusion. The change in German tactics is a colossal blunder. The RAF, close to breaking point by constant attacks on airfields and sector stations, now gains a vital reprieve. But the price will be heavy. Tragedy for thousands of Londoners.
It was like a shuttle service, the way the German planes came up the Thames, the fires acting as a flare path. Often they were above the smoke. The searchlights bored into that black roof but couldn't penetrate it. They looked like long pillars supporting a black canopy. The shrapnel clicked on the road, and still the German bombers came. Early this morning, I went to my hotel. The gunfire still rattled the windows. Shortly before noon, I rang for coffee. A pale, red-eyed chambermaid brought it and said, "I hope you slept well, sir."
When they sound the last door clear, how happy my darling will be.
Life in whole areas of London has now come virtually to a standstill. The shock of emerging from an air raid shelter to find entire streets blasted beyond recognition is profound. Each morning finds thousands wandering dazed, sifting through the rubble of what was once their home. To families who have lost everything comes the gradual realization of just what homelessness means. How can the children be fed? How can a meal be cooked without fire or saucepans? Above all, where will shelter be found for the coming night? Over the next 18 months, throughout the country, 2.25 million people, including 1 Londoner in every 6, will be made homeless. There are official rest centres, but at first the government refuses to supply blankets, claiming that it would discourage people from moving on. Quickly, the centers become virtual refugee camps. The brunt of the first 3 days of raids has been borne by the people of London's East End. And yet there has been nothing like the panic feared by the government. There is a near riot when the government calls in soldiers to prevent Liverpool Street Station being used as an air raid shelter, but official fears that civilians would descend into the underground and stay there soon prove to be unfounded. Sheltering simply becomes part of daily life. For over 6 weeks, German preparations for the invasion of England had been centered on the Channel ports of France. A major task for the Royal Navy and for Bomber Command is disrupting the assembly of the invasion fleet. In this, they are becoming increasingly successful. September the 12th. At the headquarters of German Naval Group West, the commander in charge of the fleet, which is to invade England, reports to Berlin, interruptions caused by the enemy's air force, long-range artillery, and light naval forces have assumed major significance. By now, the Royal Navy and Bomber Command have ensured that Ostend, Dunkirk, Calais, and Boulogne cannot be used as night anchorages. Units of the British fleet are able to operate virtually unmolested in the Channel. The German naval commanders expect further delays in the assembly of the invasion fleet. On September the 14th, Hitler, in a directive to his invasion commanders, admits the necessary degree of air superiority over the British has not yet been attained. He reluctantly postpones his final invasion decision for 3 more days. Hermann Goering insists that he needs only 5 more days of good weather to destroy what he is convinced are the last remnants of the Royal Air Force. The Battle of Britain is about to reach its climax.
Hostile raid, sir.
The massive German air fleet crossing the Channel on the morning of September the 15th is a force of 200 bombers, each one escorted by 5 fighters. But the recent lull in attacks on RAF airfields during the bombing of London has enormously strengthened Britain's fighter defences. For the first time, they can meet the German air attacks in force. As the attacking formations sweep towards London, they are harried by 22 squadrons of British fighters. Only 148 of the 200 German bombers break through to attack the London area. The formations have been shattered, and many drop their bombs at random over open country. As the German bombers turn and head for home, they experience a profound shock. Sweeping in from the skies over East Anglia is a force of 60 British fighters. In the afternoon, the 2nd German Air Fleet is intercepted by an even larger force of over 170 Hurricanes and Spitfires. More bombers do succeed in breaking through to attack London, but for the first time, Fighter Command is meeting the Luftwaffe in numbers great enough to inflict decisive losses.
Here is the midnight news, and this is Alvar Liddell reading it. Up to 10 o'clock, 175 German aircraft had been destroyed in today's raids over this country. Today was the most costly for the German Air Force for nearly a month. In daylight raids, between 350 and 400 enemy aircraft were launched in 2 attacks against London and southeast England. About half of them were shot down. It was officially announced that by 10 o'clock tonight, 175 raiders were known to have been destroyed by our fighters and anti-aircraft gunners.
In fact, German losses are 56 aircraft destroyed for 26 British fighters, but many more have been badly damaged or have crewmen killed or wounded. Above all, there has been a profound effect on Luftwaffe morale.
An einer Felsenwand, hoch unter blauem Himmel ein kleines Blümlein stand. Ich konnt nicht widerstehen, ich brach das Blümelein und schenkte es dem schönsten, herzlichsten Mägdelein. Es war ein Edelweib, ein kleines Edelweib. Holla idi, holla la, holla idi, oh. Es war ein Edelweib, ein kleines Edelweib. Holla idi, holla la, holla idi, oh.
The German disaster of September the 15th is the last serious attempt by the Luftwaffe to destroy the Royal Air Force. It is the end of the Battle of Britain. At first, Goering attempts to deny the scale of his losses. He claims that a few more days will see the end of the Royal Air Force, but now not even his own pilots will believe him. On September the 17th, in spite of Goering's pleas for more time, Hitler postpones the invasion of England indefinitely. But Goering will not abandon his own campaign. If the Royal Air Force cannot be beaten by day, the will of the British people will be broken by night. Every night for 2.5 months, 160 bombers will pound the city of London. They will drop over 10,000 tons of high explosives and thousands of incendiaries. The Royal Air Force, with only a handful of radar-equipped night fighters, can do almost nothing to stop them.
The guns was going and shells was flying everywhere. We fell to the ground and I began to cry. And a lady next to us was giving out apples. And she said, Be quiet and you will be all right. He said, get down there and mind the splinters.
On October the 15th, on one of the heaviest raids of the Blitz, the German air fleet over London is 400 strong. Incendiaries cause 1,000 fires. 400 people are killed and 900 injured.
The first thing I knew was dust started to fall on me. The floor gave way, and I immediately realized what was happening. The roof came down. I covered my head with my hands and wondered, frankly, whether this was the end.
As the bombing continues, night after night, week after week, the rescue crews, fire crews, and bomb disposal teams struggle to cope with destruction on a greater and greater scale. But the morale of Londoners does not crack. In fact, it is in better shape than in 1939. The catchphrase is business as usual.
Oh, referring to this fellow Lord Haw Haw. This is Germany calling, so bing Tolero. Who is the chap who hits the high spot? The greatest comedian now of the lot. The definite radio star #1. The life of the party, the bundle of fun. Lord Haw Haw, the humbug of Hamburg. The bloke with the tonsils and tone. His Homburg he raises in Hamburg. His top lip is quite overgrown. And yet, in the winter, it's rather pathetic. He's frozen to death 'cause his pants are synthetic. Lord Haw Haw, the humbug of Hamburg, the comic of eau de cologne. You British are starving. You've not enough food even for wee Georgie Wood. Lord Haw Haw, the humbug of Hamburg.
How are you getting on with your meals? Any complaints? We hope to do better when we've got more crockery and more helpers and a better stove. We hope you've enjoyed it all. What did you have to say?
Roast beef, potatoes.
Mutton, lady, sorry. A carving like that, Ritter. And plenty of vegetables.
And a pudding you've had, haven't
Yes,
you? You're going to have a boiled pudding.
Yes, lady.
We hope you've enjoyed that. And what have you had?
I'm just waiting now, Mum.
You're waiting. Well, I hope there'll be enough for you. We're doing our best.
Yes, there's plenty there for us.
We've got a rotten stove, and we're hoping somebody would be kind enough to give us a better one.
The resilience of the British civilians under fire has been watched with great interest. In the United States, radio and newspaper reports of life in the Blitz evoke widespread sympathy and admiration. The failure of the Luftwaffe to destroy the Royal Air Force has shown decisively that Britain is still firmly in the fight. Already, military equipment purchased in the United States is arriving in ever-increasing quantities. American neutrality is being stretched to the limit.
Thanks, Mr. Roosevelt, it's well of you. All the way you're helping us to carry on. You'll see the British Empire smiling through when at last these dark and stormy days have gone. And Franklin, by the way, please convey our congratulations to the folks in USA. We're saying thanks, Mr. Roosevelt, we're proud of you. All the way you're helping us to carry on.
We have only asked that the world go with us in the path of peace. But we shall be able to keep that way open only if we are prepared to meet force with force if challenge is ever made against us.
While the failure of Germany to blitz London into submission has a powerful impact on American public opinion, it also has tragic consequences. From mid-November, the Luftwaffe broadens its attacks to industrial cities all over Britain. Cardiff, the ports of the southeast, Bristol, Swansea, Plymouth, Clydeside and Belfast all fall victim to the Luftwaffe's bomber fleets. But the greatest destruction of all is suffered by the city of Coventry.
Bomb after bomb, incendiary bomb, fell. And we fought them with what we could of the equipment we had, one after the other. It took a long time. And then, finally, a group of three fell on the roof, and well, the fire blazed up, and we had no more sand and no more water, and practically no more strength to go on. The fire got a big hose. The fire station came, but, well, there was not sufficient water to deal with it, and the fire got a complete grip of the roof and burnt from roof to roof, and all the pews blazed up, a great inferno inside. But there it is. That night the city burnt, and the mother church of the city burnt with her. Can't help feeling that's a sort of emblem of the eternal truth that when men suffer, God suffers with them. And yet the tower and the spire still stand, soaring to the sky, and I feel that's an emblem of the eternal majesty and love of God. It was the spirit of our forefathers that built that grand building. I believe that that spirit is with us still and will help us to rebuild it one day when we've served and suffered a while, a little longer. Build it again to the glory of Jesus Christ.
By the end of November 1940, it is already clear that the Blitz on British cities will not deliver victory to Germany. But there is every chance that the U-boat will. In the wide expanses of the Atlantic Ocean, defeat will come closer than it came in the Battle of Britain. The toll of merchant ships lost to U-boats in the month of October is a staggering 350,000 tons. The threat has become so serious that a large number of British warships have been taken from anti-invasion duties and dispatched to the North Atlantic. Even so, both surface and air escorts are dangerously weak. Poor weather or mechanical problems can easily cause a ship to lose its convoy. The consequences can be fatal.
Wir lagen schon 14 Tage, ein Wind in die Segel und Schiff. Der Druck war die größte Lage, dann liefen wir auf ein Wind. Ahoi, Kameraden, ahoi, ahoi, lebt wohl. Deines Meeres, lebt wohl, lebt wohl. Der lange Feind war der Erste, der doch von den Faulen nass. Die Fest gab ihm das Letzte.
As lone merchant ships continue to be easy prey for marauding U-boats, the convoys face the new and deadly threat of the wolf pack. Once located by air or sea reconnaissance, the convoy is shadowed by a single U-boat who reports its location to the rest of the pack, who then close in for the kill. The U-boat commanders know that at night, the convoy's escorts cannot detect a surfaced U-boat. For nights on end, ships can be sunk almost at will. For the sailors of the Atlantic convoys, the overriding feeling is one of total helplessness. Each morning there is the heartbreaking sight of floating wreckage and slicks of black oil. And all know that as autumn turns to winter, anyone who must abandon ship faces almost certain death. As the U-boats take their toll by night, by day it is the turn of the Luftwaffe.
We're now picked up in, I think I'm right in saying, the first attack on a convoy which has been actually recorded at sea. We've been attacked by bombers. There have been 2 runs over the convoy as yet. All the ships have been just blazing off like mad. They've put stick of bombs, but so far no damage has been done. So I've taken up a position by the gun in the stern. It's a 12-pounder, and I'm right amidst the gun crew now. Shells all around me too, and more are being handed up from the magazine below. I expect you can hear the crew. And wait a minute. Here he comes. He's on our port quarter, not much more than 500 feet up, I should say, and just about abreast of us now. The tracer bullets bursting all around him. He's crossing astern, straight over, but you can still follow him through this night cloud. And there go his bombs. There's a stick of 4 of them. They're hanging in the air for a moment. I can see them distinctly, and now they're dropping down over the convoy. But wait a minute, he is missed. Columns of water spouting up, but he's missed. The ships are still there, and it looks as if we're all right. That's a faint smell of gunpowder and smoke drifting across the water, but you won't worry about that. He's missed, and everything's okay.
October the 28th, 1940. Italy invades Greece. The attack is intended to be a carbon copy of Blitzkrieg, a lightning war over in a matter of days. But Mussolini has badly mistimed his invasion. Poor weather grounds the Italian Air Force, and Greek resistance is stubborn and effective. Within a week, the Greeks are successfully launching their own counter-offensive. Already, Mussolini's hopes of a quick and decisive victory are in tatters. By late November and the arrival of 7,000 British reinforcements, it is plain that there will be no easy Italian victory in Greece. Hitler is furious. He has been told nothing of Mussolini's plan. In Britain, the response is undisguised satisfaction. Mussolini's humiliating failure to subdue the outnumbered Greeks soon becomes the least of his mounting troubles. In North Africa, his armies have advanced into the western desert, only to halt still 50 miles from British lines. There they set up a chain of fortified camps, making no attempt to press on further. For the British, it is a heaven-sent opportunity. During those precious weeks of Italian indecision, British reinforcements and supplies had been rushed to North Africa. Even so, the British, New Zealand, Indian, and later Australian troops numbered only 36,000, against Italian armies over 250,000 strong. In spite of his numerical weakness, the British Commander-in-Chief, General Wavell, decides that attack is the best form of defense. The British assault of November the 9th is intended only as a raid, but the result is astonishing. The first day, 4,000 prisoners are taken. By the third day, 40,000 prisoners and 400 guns have been captured. It is the beginning of an unprecedented series of victories. To the British public, this is success beyond the wildest of dreams. And in December 1940, with the Blitz at its height, cheering news is desperately needed.
We've a little wooden bank for you. We want one shelter and we don't want
I think that'll be all right now.
Yes, that's grand.
Anyway, I'll be back in a few minutes if you want.
Now, how are we going to get you up there? Get a young man to lift you up. Barney?
Hello.
Tell this young lady a lift up.
Right,
This monstrous product of former wrongs and shame has now resolved to try to break our famous island race by a process of indiscriminate slaughter and destruction.
What might happen there is no knowing, but we wouldn't leave our little wooden bank for
For 2 weeks, thanks to poorer weather, the skies over Britain have been quiet. For the British people, Christmas in a blackout is a new and depressing experience. Already this month, 3,000 have been killed and 5,000 injured, but the year is not yet done. The night of December the 29th sees the last and most traumatic raid of 1940. The target is the City of London. The raid is intended to destroy the area around Piccadilly Circus, but the bombers mistakenly shed their entire load of incendiaries on the tiny commercial quarter of the city. Almost all the buildings on which thousands of incendiaries now rain down are locked for the Christmas holidays. With no one to spot fires before they take hold, the old city is soon ablaze. Within 2 hours, 1,400 separate fires have merged into 2 gigantic infernos.
One stretcher party, 1 ambulance, 1 car to 114 High Street, Sector 220.
1 ambulance, 1 car, 114 High Street. Don't forget your helmet.
I spent last night with an RAF bomber pilot who has carried 25 loads of bombs over Germany. We were walking along the street when we heard one coming down. As we lay on the sidewalk, waiting for it to thump, he said, "I'd feel better up there than down here." A couple of air raid wardens standing out in the open were discussing whether the stuff coming down was a flock of incendiaries or high explosives. As we walked on, gusts of hot air and sparks charged down the street. We began to meet women. One clutched a blanket. Another carried a small baby in her arms. They were all looking back over their shoulders at that red glow that had driven them out into the streets. They were frightened. And that bomber pilot, who had been over Germany so many times, stopped and said, "I've seen enough of this. I hope we haven't been doing the same thing in the Ruhr and the Rhineland for the last 3 months."
Tonight has been specially chosen by the Luftwaffe. The tide is exceptionally low in the Thames, and water mains have been destroyed by high explosives. The only water available has to be brought from the very center of the river by fireboat. From beneath London Bridge, from Southwark Bridge, from anywhere that can be reached by a hose, water is drawn by relays of pumps, and still the fire spreads. Before the night is over, the old city of London has been virtually obliterated. The Guildhall, 8 Wren churches, Gough Square, the Temple, the Old Bailey, and all of Paternoster Row are engulfed in a sea of flames. It is the second great fire of London. But miraculously, St. Paul's Cathedral, the symbol of the city itself, has survived the inferno.
Dear old lady, London town. Dear old lady, with your world wide upside down. So today you're sorely tried, wearing a brave face, you look on the sunny side. Keep on smiling, never fear. Soon the storm clouds from your skies will disappear. Victory will be your crown. Dear old lady, London town.
The trauma of the Blitz will continue for 5 months more. Over 40,000 people will die, over half of them in London. 50,000 will be seriously injured, and 2 million made homeless. On December the 29th, the very night that London burned, a new hope is kindled in the hearts of Winston Churchill and the British people. In the United States, President Roosevelt warns the citizens of America that if the Axis powers are not defeated, they too will be living at the point of a gun. Within 3 months, he will keep his promise to make the United States the bastion of democracy.
We shall send you in ever-increasing numbers, ships, planes, tanks, guns. That is our purpose and our pledge.